Let's go back to our top story tonight. We did tell you that the 2025 National Constitutional Summit concluded in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, with key resolutions aimed at replacing the 1999 Constitution with a people-driven alternative. For that conversation, I'm joined now by a law and governance expert, Dr. Sam Amadi. Thank you very much for giving us your time. Just before this program, I watched the video of the Bayelsa State Governor, Doye Dire, talking to the Constitution Review Committee in his state and saying it's looking like a waste of time and money. And then you have this summit coming up to say that we need a total overhaul. Is that possible? And is the document that bad?
Well, thank you for having me. I think two things can be true. One, that the process taken by the National Assembly looks more like a joke. I have said this several times, even when Jonathan was president. I've been to National Assembly under former Deputy Senate President Ekweremadu, that the notion that every National Assembly must go through this ritual of bringing together 13, 20 terms of amendments and go through 2 days of rowdy, uncoordinated, so-called hearing is nonsensical. And again, the research is clear for scholars that constitutions that are often interfered, amended, changed, lead to political stability. Most of the stable politics in the world have very old constitutions. The US Constitution, with over 200 years, has just 25 amendments. And each of those amendments went through 3 years, 4 years, 5 years of rigorous discussion on one issue. And then only one issue is altered. And that's really how this works. So this notion of every National Assembly putting together couple hundreds or tens of issues that say we'll go to 4 places in 6 zones across the country, 2 hours, 3 hours, they fold and collect money and go away. It's not just almost meaningless but stupid. And
so is this the answer? Is this summit the answer, sir?
The second point is about the Patriots at their summit. The Patriots, the notion also of having, I spoke at that meeting and I said very clear that we should put more rigor in constitutional, if we want to change this constitution, a new constitution, the methodology should be different. We need to have conversations and then say that we have a national conference where we re-theorize the basis of the Nigerian state and use that political theory to say this is who we want to become. For example, we're talking about moving from parliamentary to presidential, moving from single tenure, instead of, those things are cosmetics. They don't really address, but if you look at all over the world, different countries, some prosperous, some poor, some functional, some non functional, have different mix of institutional arrangement. So, for example, the parliamentary system in France is different from the one in Germany. France is both presidential and parliamentary. Israel is a different model. So I think that my worry is that our leaders are not thinking through, and they're trying to solve evident political problems through unending constitutional reform. And that's why President Obasanjo, in the lecture speech he gave at that summit, said a point about operators being the problem, not the rules. Yes, 2 things can be true. We need to do some major revision of our constitution. But I think that the issues we need to talk about are not the ones I'm talking about. For example, citizenship. We need to begin to assert a common Nigerian citizenship. We need to take seriously Chapter 2 of the Constitution, which creates a framework for what I called in that meeting democratic citizenship, so that we can now begin to make economic, social implications of citizenship very evident. So I think that our leaders are underserving the country by focusing to being fixated around structure to the point that we think that until we recreate this constitution, we cannot solve obvious problems. Take us out of INEC.
I'm sorry to interject, but we're time pressed. About coming off what you're saying, you've said a couple of things. You said that the committee review is largely a waste of time. And then we have this summit coming up to say that they are going to do geopolitical wide consultation before they come up with a document that they are going to take to the National Assembly. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, we have the National Assembly doing their own review, and people who should be commenting on whatever documents that comes up, saying that we don't need it. People like Senator Ned Nwoko saying that we don't need a new constitution, but what we need is good governance, you know, all the yada yada that they say. Where do we start really? And how do we go from here? Because we have to start from somewhere. These patriots are saying, instead of keeping talking, let's do something.
I agree with you. For example, do one thing. The issue about the gender bill, for example, giving women extra exclusive seat. You don't need to go across the country. You just have to go through a normal constitutional process. You know, if you look at the Constitution, it talks about bills to alter the Constitution. So my worry is this carnival of going around the country. Just one bill. Every time, look at one issue that's important. Keep it at the table for long. Let people debate. Don't go around a circus. Let people debate. Then their representatives will vote on those things. So I think there are things we should do quickly. On the Electoral Act, for example, why don't you start with first removing the appointing power of the president over INEC, something that was recommended since 1998 or yes, sorry, 2008. Was recommended it. It's easy to do. So there are things we need to alter, small constitutional alterations, but they should not be done as if we are going through a kind of, because first, you need about more than 6 months. You look at the US, they talk about the US convention. The US delegates met, after 2-3 weeks, they go back. 6 months, they write books, they write the Federalist paper, they talk about it, they come back 3 months ago to discuss until they have consensus. We're not doing that. You go to Enugu, one day, okay. Give a speech, So my view is that, let's be real, take one thing and fix that thing, whether it's subsidy for women, whether it's citizenship rights.
I mean, it also depends. This is your, submission as to where we can pick from. Some other person will have another view as to where we should start from. It is a complex conversation, but one we must have.
Take one issue, discuss it.
All right, sir, we'll have to leave it there.
And think through it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for speaking with us.